Welcome to Dynamo's Dozen, the podcast that we bring you each and every single week, where we talk about whatever may be on our minds, from pro wrestling, sports, entertainment, music, movies, muesli, fresh socks and jocks, and everything in between, never forgetting the blue tick. I am your host, Ian the Dynamo Kelly, joined as always, and once again by my co-host, the shopkeeper, Niall Hogan, and we have a hell of a show for you here today. We've had that little week off where news has built up in between. Obviously, Niall is in the process of getting his house in order, and I mean in proper order. it's been a minute.
Been a process.
And of course, I'm back in the rock and roll game. So, including other duties, which is called life. So it's there's been a bit of a gap there, but we have plenty of news to bring you today. Niall,
Yeah,
how
absolutely.
are you, my friend?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah, starting to try and get back to the normality of life again, of having nearly a full house as opposed to just the top floor of a house. So yeah,
Yep.
slowly but surely getting there. Yeah, busy with the upper tier, obviously, as always, and
Of
yeah,
course.
plenty of stuff going on in wrestling at the moment. So yeah, should
Yeah.
be a bit of fun tonight.
Well, where do we begin then? I suppose there's only one place to begin. Why don't you shoot away on this one, because I was actually quite surprised by this, and it came out of left field for me. So go ahead.
This is a Ric Flair blast the WWE for inducting the bully JBL into the Hall of Fame. Look, everyone and their sister who follows wrestling knows how much of a bully JBL is, and we seen it firsthand on screen when he battered the Blue Meanie basically in that ECW show and stuff like that. So we know how much of a bully he is. But I kind of like, this is kind of weird, Ric Flair calling out someone on something like this, when his own life down through the years hasn't necessarily been the perfect life, let's
Squeaky
say, and role
clean.
model, squeaky
Yeah.
clean, yeah, to be calling out someone on something like this. But I suppose um the
But
older
like, I
the
suppose
older
for
you get,
me,
maybe the more vocal you get, is it?
yeah, like for me, it's kind of like, right. There's certain elements that, like, because I hate that word bully, and I put it in inverted commas, because it's a very it's a very big word to be thrown around. You know what I mean? Especially in modern society. Like, I understand there was certain elements in the locker room that lads were just, I don't know whether they were tougher back then. Yeah, they were probably tougher, to be fair, but also there was a little bit more leniency, and it was kind of like the boys, so to speak. Um, you and me both have been part of locker rooms that, you probably wouldn't get away with some of the antics that you probably got away with more antics back then, should I say, than you would in the modern era, so to speak, with certain things you could say and certain hazing and pranks and stuff that you can play on each other.
Yeah.
So, and I get that, beat the shit out of Blue Meanie on stage and all, but him and Blue Meanie are mates now, like they're men, they got over it and blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. So I thought it was a bit of a
The
strange,
check made it easier.
yeah, yeah, but you know what I mean? It was just kind of like,
Yeah.
still a hell of a talent and absolutely deserves a place in the Hall of Fame. So I'm kind of, I love Nature Boy, but yeah, I think, those fire and stones from glass houses have to be very, very careful. So,
Yeah, I think if you're going to call into question someone's induction or inclusion in the Hall of Fame, um, I would preface that by saying that there's very few inductees that have gone into the Hall of Fame that don't have one thing or another in their past, that you could argue.
yeah,
Well, I take offense to that, maybe, and maybe he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. This is, it's just I suppose it's a strange one that it's come up from Flair. I suppose if this was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat or someone, someone who's
you know
pretty,
what?
you know,
Even my man behind me, the hitman, for all the shit you throw at him
mm,
about moaning and being bitter and stuff like that, the one thing you can always hear from younger talent, including even, Sean Waltman from the Click, you never hear anything about hazing or bullying or blah blah blah. It's always like there to help the
yeah,
young talent, but maybe just taking the business too seriously.
yeah,
Like, and that's only one example. But him, Steamboat, I mean, who else? You know, Harley Racic or
Yeah. Oh, we'll bring him up. We'll bring him up. We'll bring
I
Harley up
know, I
later
know, I
anyway
know,
as
I
we
know.
talk
But look,
about
it's a
topics.
strange one. It is a strange
Yeah.
one. We move on. We move on. The
Yeah,
next one.
it's like every 3 months he comes out with one of these, doesn't he? And
Yeah,
his following or his traction shoots up, and then it just goes off into the wilderness type of thing and stuff
he
like that.
knows what he's doing. He knows
Yeah,
what he's doing.
absolutely.
It's quite clear. I look forward to a JBL response on this. Actually,
Yeah, it should be a good one.
um, I'm going to hit the next one here. Two of my guys actually. One of my guys going in on one of my guys. Chris Jericho. Now I've been dying to see this, and the validity of this is still in question. There's no quotes. This is just a dirt cheap piece of news that we don't know. So again, we are this is rumor and innuendo, as Mr. Bruce Pritchard would say.
Well, it's been out. It's been out in the ether for a couple of weeks
It
now, and it
has.
hasn't been
It has.
denied either.
It hasn't been denied,
So
but Jericho, basically saying CM Punk was a cancer in the locker room. Now, the one thing I will say about Jericho, and shout out to a friend of the show, Morris, who I appear on Cheap Heat this week actually,
yeah,
with host of Renee Young's podcast was on it with us there last week. So we had a great chat. And if you want to see Dynamo going in on certain ballet dancers and whatever the rest may be, go and check that out. I won't give too much away. But Morris made a very good point to me as well. Jericho's not one to kind of hide behind the comments either, and the fact that he hasn't brought out any comments, I suppose, on his own shows or anything yet is kind of what makes me hold my thoughts on this. Do you know what I mean?
mm.
Um,
Well,
it's it's
I thought this to me. I thought this fitted perfectly because apparently there's no love lost between the two. And I noticed it as well when, if you remember back when Punk signed for AEW and all the hoo ha about that, Chris was on a podcast, I think with Steve O. Was it one of those van podcasts, like those food truck ones or something like that? Or
Was he on that?
bear truck? He was on that one, yeah, and he was
Okay, I didn't
this
know
was
that
when he
actually.
was going through. Remember, he had blown up and put on the weight when he was doing this other character kind of thing and stuff like that. Yeah, but he was on that one with Steve
You
O.
mean when he was fond of the L?
Yeah, and based on reports today from our friend Morris, apparently he's still very fond of. So
Oh well, I know that. I know that. You don't need Morris for that as an exclusive. I can
no,
verify that
Morris
through.
was with them today. Morris, because they're playing tonight in
Oh
Dublin.
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh
And
no, yeah, yeah.
Morris
But
was doing the video for the VIP stuff.
I can verify that from sources and friends of mine too.
Yeah,
That's an
absolutely.
absolute fact.
But he mentioned on that. I think Steve O was brought up about CM Punk going in and how huge this would be and stuff like that. And Jericho played it down straight away, saying, there's a huge roster in there already of very, very good big stars. It's not just about CM Punk. And I thought that was quite fitting when you look at this stuff then. But then it was interesting. I don't know if you got Cornette the other day. He was doing a review of it, and he turned around and he said,
Yep.
and here's Chris Jericho coming out to Judas, Judas by name and Judas by nature.
Do you know what? I agree with that. I do agree
Yeah,
with that, and I did listen to
yeah,
what Cornette had to say, and it does make sense because at the end of the day, Jericho's still a worker, and at the end of the day, he's probably a master worker.
yeah,
You don't stay on top that long. Look, I'm always going to have Punk's side on this one purely based on the riffraff that are involved. It's not that, believe it or not, I'm the biggest Punk mark on the planet because actually that I'm not. I've never thought that Punk is the best worker,
yeah.
best blah blah blah. I'm guilty by apparently back in the day. I don't know whether I still do. I think I look a bit better. Apparently looking like him, according to you and your lovely wife Hills and many others. Thanks Cabray for that one, by the way. That was the original tag. But no, I became a big fan of his actual work on promos and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's really where my kind of love for Punk's work I suppose I got to like a lot of his work in ring, but I never thought he was the most polished performer or main event or anything like that. I mean, I've seen him go in and try and replicate some of Brett's work in recent times, and it's great as an adage, but it's like, or a homage if you want to call it. But I've never, I would be a bigger fan of Jericho's work than Punk's work, for example. I'd be a bigger mark for Jericho than CM Punk, if I'm being honest. But the reason I'm wearing this T-shirt because someone has to come out on the smaller scene and stick up for the guy. But I think with this one, Punk and Jericho, I agree with you. I think we're going to put a pin in this one, and I think we'll leave this as this seems more personal than anything else.
I do have to say and preface it was on the back of a brand new 4-year contract for Chris Jericho as well, and extended responsibilities, let's say.
So that good full on money, you know.
Yeah, so like if there's a sweetener there, you're willing to say anything, and we know how.
Say whatever you want. Here, I'll call out Punk if Cam wants to give me something.
Call them all out.
I'll wear a Hangman Page shirt tomorrow. No, that's not true.
This next one, piece of news I thought was a good one. Ricky Morton talks why FTR is successful. Wrestling has forgotten how to tell stories. He's very right in what he's saying there and stuff like that. And I liked some of the stuff he said about FTR, that, the art of tag team wrestling, which me and you both love so much, of course, and talk about fondly on the podcast all the time.
Yeah, 100%.
But he says a lot of these teams, they've forgotten what it's all about and stuff like that. And what happens is, as part of the tag team structure, they go into business for each other, and they wrestle as if they're two singles competitors trying to get one up on the other, as opposed to being a synergistic team, if you like, that kind of way, So it was a nice little article about it, stuff. And of course, when you're talking about tag team wrestling, no better man to talk to than Ricky Morton, you know what I mean, who lived and bred it all his life, if he doesn't know about tag team wrestling, who would? And yeah, I fully agree with him in terms of telling stories. And I suppose it depends if he's looking primarily as well into the AEW circle and stuff like that. A lot of the stories tend to be on the fly or very short living.
An interesting one as well. Yeah, another team that have been off screen since they came out.
Only recently back. Only just back, I think, this week or last week, wasn't it? I think.
I'd say due to popular. Yeah, I'd say due to popular demand and also, right. But I mean, going back to the CM Punk thing, I don't think this story is written, by the way, lads, and I'm gonna say it here now. There's a lot of time left while this shit gets ironed out, and a lot of time for wounds to heal, and money to talk, and the big boys, hopefully in the meantime, seeing the bigger picture here, because word is coming out as well, and it might not be by these idiots from your man Sean from Fightful and all these, these absolute clickbait merchants, and of course good old Uncle Dave, who's a fucking specimen. I think word is coming out that H is more than happy for a run and a Hall of Fame there, because listen, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree with the McMahons and the Helmsley McMahons, right? I mean, this is a way for them to capitalize.
As we said before, Warrior came back, Bruno came back, lots of people.
Brett came back.
Lots.
I mean,
of people.
Sean and Hunter hated each other, didn't they? Or Brett and Hunter, sorry, I should say. And the more smoke that keeps coming out of this, the bigger business it is for Phil Brooks.
Do you know what's interesting, actually, when we go back to the Ric Flair thing, actually? Wasn't it Brett did Brett last week or the week before, did I read he called out for Goldberg to be removed from the Hall of Fame?
There you go.
And I wonder, is this why Flair's rounding behind them with JBL or something like that?
Because Brett and Flair are pals.
Because the motion, the wheels are turning, yeah.
There's two other lads that absolutely hated each other. Do you know what I mean? So it's like wrestlers are very, wrestlers get played by the game, but they also play the game. And I wouldn't be surprised if this isn't that, and Tony, for all the faults that we call out, he is still a businessman, and his dad is the one who's the overseer. If he thinks he can get one, and that's where this no compete clause comes in. Why is he putting a no compete clause in there? And why is Punk going, actually, do you know what? Maybe I will go back to WWE and have one more run, an epic run, especially now that we've got PG-13. So there's so many things that are. All I'm saying is, I doubt we've seen the last of CM Punk. He certainly is a proud man. He can walk away with 7-8 million quid in the bank, and if he wants, I reckon.
Isn't it amazing when we originally said that it wasn't the place for him to go, even though he went in, He moved the numbers, he did the pay-per-views, and he moved the
And
news.
I
It's
was the
certainly
one
there.
that said he should, and
Yeah.
you were the one.
I
I
said
should have
that
listened to
is
you. I
not the place
apologize.
for him to go.
I
I said he
apologize.
should have been. It should be WWE, and it might end up being that way now. So
You
it's
and
interesting.
Jay, I should have listened to you. You are the fuck, and I was always like, you are the fans. I'm the locker room guy.
Yeah.
Maybe the locker room guy doesn't know how to get it right. I mean, you're in the business. You're in the business of selling wrestling merch, so
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
listen to you from now on. No, that was a great story, and I do like. I mean, I think I've always maintained it. I think FTR is the best tag team on the planet, along with the Usos. And I can only see them being back in WWE eventually too. That's a given.
Yeah.
I think that's without a doubt a given.
Yeah, it was interesting you mentioned that, how like the Punk supporters all evaporated off the roster for a month or two. And then Tony suddenly realised he was short of need we say genuine talent to put some decent matches out there. Guys have to come back and stuff like that.
He still is. He still
absolutely.
is. They're in the few.
Yeah.
This is I'll give you the next one actually, because I only watched this recently.
The Logan Paul one. Referee Jimmy Corderas. He does a real cool little show. It's a real short kind of burst thing, ref and rant and stuff like that. It's really, really cool, and it's short and sweet and to the point. And it's great to see he's such a vested interest still. It's really, really cool.
And he was a fantastic ref as well, and well respected.
Yeah. But he was blown away by Logan Paul's performance, like I think we all were. I think it was an amazing display, really. And actually, do you know what really got it for me? When he was on the top turnbuckle with the phone. It's scary when you're looking down from that distance to see actually just how far they travel.
Yeah.
I'd get up there and I'd be shaking. Well, I'd never get up there anyway, so it doesn't matter. But it was amazing, and to see the phone track it all the way down when he hit the move and stuff like that. And
I done a double. I just want to put this into perspective, right? This is how much respect I have for Logan Paul, or anyone that gets up and does something like from that height onto a table. I was up there to the outside. As you know, the diving headbutt was always my thing. Not my thing, but obviously ripped from the kid and Harley Race. The one time I done a move from the top rope, from the top turnbuckle to the outside, was a double axe handle. And that was scary enough. Landing on your feet. I thought I was going Macho Man Randy Savage on it. So, like you're 100% correct in pointing that out. I mean, and the fact, because from what I was thinking of, from a worker standpoint, I was thinking, right, he's thinking of two things here. A is fucking absolutely acing the move and making sure that he's safe and his opponent is safe and he lands correctly, but also getting it on camera.
Yeah.
Wow, it was like shit. That was actually really fucking impressive.
It kind of reminded me of the old days where they had different camera angles and stuff like that. Remember the real old shoots and stuff like that?
Yeah.
But I loved as well. He hit that buckshot lariat and he hit it perfectly, wasn't it? And he was made look really strong. I suppose you have to say hats off to Roman here as well. Roman made him look $1 million as well.
Yeah,
I mean, he took everything like a champ. But then we hear afterwards, of course, he tore the MCL and meniscus and whatever else. He screwed up his whole leg, basically, But we hear afterwards more respect from him as well. He actually did it in the middle of the match. And
100%.
He did it in the middle of the match. Yeah, absolute respect for him. Like, I mean, to take an injury like that halfway through the match and finish out a match like that. And some of the bigger stuff he did was with the leg torn. It's mad when you go back and you look at it and stuff like that. But yeah, they're on a serious show. Have we ever seen a guy who's taken to it as quick as that and to get it and stuff like that?
One person, Kurt Angle.
Yeah, Kurt, yeah. But but you got to remember, Kurt had a great wrestling background as well.
I was going to say, Kurt went to the Funkin' Conservatory, with Dory Funk Jr., which also gave him, you know what I mean? That gives you a good footing within.
Yeah.
But I would say, from anyone that just decided that they want. Now, quite clearly, these two brothers are special. Do you know what I mean? They really are. I mean, they're not. I think we need to take the name YouTuber out of their name, because it's like Joe Rogan made a great point even about Jake Paul, you know what I mean? Whatever about people thinking it's fixed and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. I think it won't be fixed when when they fight a real fighter in their prime, in their weight class. You know what I mean? I think,
Yeah.
Jake Paul will get a realization of what boxing's about if he goes up against our boy Canelo. Then it's a different story. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, this is real now. Or even up against a 55-year-old Mike Tyson. I still think that would be too much, a step too far, because I mean, that boy still hits. But the point I'm making is they are fighters. You know what I mean? They are athletes. They are absolutely supreme athletes. The conditioning, the talk, the promotion behind it is absolutely second to none. And I think fair play to Impulsive, the boys as well, coming out and putting up a tweet I saw saying, well, talk shit, you get your ass handed to you, and they accepted it. They were happy to come in and not be the stars, come in and actually take a few licks from the Usos and all. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doing what's good for business. And to me, Logan Paul, he's a special talent, and long may that continue, because I think if he wanted to do a proper run, he could absolutely be a world champ. I mean, I know that's, for me saying that, people are going to go, oh, Mr. Traditional. Well, I got to be honest. He's coming in respecting the traditions. He's he's bringing something to the table from the outside. He's bringing outside eyes into the business. He's my God, can he work? I just think he's a very, very special talent. Very special talent.
There's nothing he's lacking really.
No,
except just that body of work.
Experience.
Just that body of work.
Experience.
Yeah.
Experience.
But the stuff he's able to put together is exceptional, and I'm really impressed. I wonder if H is working with him a lot, because
I would think so.
In terms of his camera work and where to be and which camera to be on and all that, he's absolutely perfection. So H,
and he knows how to slow down, man. I mean, look at. I know I like ripping on people, but
nothing's rushed.
Like, I'm going to ask you a question right now, and I'm going to ask you and the audience a question, and please do put this in the comments below, right? Serious fucking question time. The best wrestler in the world, Mr. Six Star. Who would you pay money to see in a main event? Would you pay on the other show to watch Kenny Omega versus Guy A? Or would you pay to watch Logan Paul versus Guy A? I know where my money's going.
Yeah, well, I mean that answers itself anyway, because we can see where people are paying and what they're watching.
But it doesn't that answer my point, because one knows how already knows how to work and how to slow down and how to look at the crowd and sell the emotion of the story. One doesn't. You know what I mean? And that's either in you naturally.
Well, I think the other one had been getting there, wasn't he, with the work with Don Callis and stuff like that, and he had been shown improvement of making his work.
I'm talking about in the ring, though.
I mean in the ring, when he was doing his work, and prior to getting injured that time and going out. If you park all the punk shenanigans,
it was starting to
slow down and make his work more meaningful and stuff like that as well. So, yeah, but
one is 6 years later, and one is a guy who's literally
one who's had 3 matches.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
One's had 3 matches. Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know,
absolutely.
But anyway,
I was blown away by him. I really enjoyed the event as well and stuff like that. But I was certainly blown away. Once he shows up, he seems to have that way of him. It's like that Pat McAfee effect. He just gets possessed and stuff like that, and he wants to make sure that he matches the ambition of what people have for him and stuff like that. And look, 100%. You hear these people talking about YouTubers and stuff like that. You don't get to their level of fame, be it YouTube or whatever it is, unless you're very driven in terms of the success that you want and stuff like that. Yeah. And they obviously bring that to any piece of business or any piece of work that they do. If they were drawing art pictures, if they were doing wrestling, they want to be the best that they can absolutely be at it. And it was kind of cool to see the brother there. And as you said, the stuff with the Usos, no, it was cool.
No, I loved it. So the next one I'm going to hit you with, Austin Theory finally cashes in the Money in the Bank, but it's for the United States title. Yeah. Talk to me while I go and grab myself liquid.
Yeah, no, this was hilarious, because he cashed in and he hit some real good moves on set as well. just in case anyone hasn't seen Raw yet, it is a bit of a spoiler, so you might want to mute it at this stage. But yeah, it was really, really interesting. But I love the commentary at the moment in WWE seems to be really, really cool. I don't know who's involved in feeding them, whether it's H or other people there doing that, but like the comment was brilliant. They said kind of like the one thing he'll be happy about is that his baggage cost for flying or whatever way they worded it will have gone down. Because he hasn't got the case anymore. So I thought that was really, really cool. And look, he did some really good stuff on Seth Rollins and stuff like that. And I think that carrying the case around had ran its course, because they had nearly pinged every angle with it at this stage, including the Tyson Fury dig at Clash at the Castle and all. So it was probably 100%. Time. But yeah, it was interesting that it was a failed cash in. So you never know. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Maybe to build up his profile a little bit more. But in a different way that isn't obvious to us as the fans, who would think a cash in would lead to winning the title. So, yeah, 100%. Interesting.
The next one that you have for me is interesting. It's the old ticker that's been talked about recently.
Yeah,
and all these salty tears coming from a certain position from one great Elon Musk.
He's on a mad one at the moment, isn't he? He's on a mad one.
Brilliant. Yeah.
These guys like leaving. It's a weird one, isn't it? They hang around Twitter, and of course for these guys as well, social media presence for them is a really, really big thing. You even see it in WWE. The profile of a superstar in terms of their social media is so important in terms of going out there and selling yourself and getting close to the fans and letting the fans see the kind of person you are, so they do buy into you on the journey that you're on and stuff like that. But Hangman Adam Page, he's leaving Twitter. I don't know whether it's over the Elon
Musk
acquisition, but they've kind of absolutely. But also Mick Foley jumped on and dropped a message as well, and then just suddenly left as well. So I don't know. It's a kind of it's a weird conundrum there at the moment, isn't it? Who knows what the plans are for Twitter and how it's going to evolve and stuff like that. I was enjoying it last week when they kind of announced all the stuff and things, because my old cryptocurrency jumped a little bit, but it's after falling back a bit this week because Elon this week has gone a little bit quieter in terms of that and stuff like that, but hopefully it'll bounce back. But yeah, interesting to see them leaving.
I find it hilarious, man. I find it so juvenile, actually. I mean, Mick Foley has become kind of almost a parody for just leftist tears at this point, far leftist tears, and you're like, man, you sell your personality for pro wrestling. We don't want your political view. Now, don't get me wrong, has his right to vent his political views just like anybody else, but my God, it was just every second thing was political. Oh my God, save democracy, vote blue. And then you've Glenn Jacobs on the other side, vote red. Don't forget, these are the guys that put your children in masks and mandatory vaccines and blah, blah, blah. And you're going, wonder what that'll be like at a reunion.
Certainly be interesting.
It is. It's interesting. And we're not going to get too political on it. But I suppose from our perspective, we're looking at it and we're going, like, it's not worth leaving over. But I guess to him it is. But I find it very ironic. I mean, Hangman Page, he's going to be such a miss. Like, he's going to be so missed by the millions of people that he's inspired in his early career and going into business for himself. And now he's going to have no business for himself because he's just going to be putting pictures of himself up on TikTok, I suppose, and on Instagram. And he's a real cowboy. You know what I mean? Like, if I was a Republican, I'd be going, fuck you, you little blonde, fluffy-haired prick. You ain't a cowboy. Come down to Texas and we'll show you what kind of cowboy you are. He'd be wearing fucking assless chaps with literally nothing on under him with his little whiny, shriveled little dick. He's a fucking moron, man. To think that he was my guy for a while and then just seeing his absolute baby girl feelings on Twitter have just made me go, man, you are a pussy.
Your history road of AEW doesn't read well. Sure, it doesn't.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, it's just
riding in on a horse, going like, meant to be the modern day Magnum TA, like, yeah, buckshot. Yeah, my God, you should call it the Pfizer shot.
The tweet. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I don't know. I just find it weird. I find it weird as well when wrestlers go into that political circle and stuff like that. You hear Mick Foley talking about his views and stuff like that, and I often think like, this is a guy who was getting blown up in the corner of rings with barbed wire ropes and barbed wire baseball bats getting stuck in his head and all sorts of stuff, you know. So it's just kind of, for me, it's kind of weird
Look,
when they start giving
it
political
doesn't.
views.
Well, the way I look at it is, people know my political views. I don't shove it down people's throat on here. It doesn't make me have any less respect for Mick Foley that he thinks one way and I think another way. You know what I mean? I'm sure it doesn't for grown ups like
Well,
Glenn
that's what I
Jacobs
mean.
as well.
I only think of them in terms of their wrestling. I don't think of them in terms
Exactly,
of these
and that's
political
that's
circles
it.
and
You
stuff.
know what I mean? Me and you,
Yeah.
we have our own political views. We pretty much agree on a lot of it, and then you can have conversations in between and go, oh well, maybe I don't agree with that, and blah blah blah. But guess what? You wake up and you're still friends the next day.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, this is kind of like, well, I don't like that Elon Musk guy, so I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. I mean, Elon Musk is actually working the workers now, which is hilarious because I mean, when you look at the tweet, he turned around and said it's going to be $20 to keep your blue tick. And then some girl said something like, that's ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, how about $8 with a question mark? He's taking the piss. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, it is what it is. I don't know. I find it very strange. I find it very, I just think it's very immature of these guys to kind of take their ball and go home and be like, and as you said, like this lad who literally got his ear cut off and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Maybe they're part of that. I don't know. They're just so engrossed in politics now that's what that's where their time is. Like, especially for someone a veteran like Mick Foley. But I mean, for Hangman Page, like whatever. You know what I mean? Go. I don't know. Go and identify as a Brussels sprout for all I give a fuck. And grow.
Absolutely. The next one's a good one. Keeping it 100. I don't know if you've been following the podcast with Conan. It's pretty good.
I like Conan actually, because that's a good point. That's actually a great point, because Conan and the boys, and by the way, can I just give a shout out? And I hope one day we can get him on the podcast. Disco Inferno. There's a man who stands by whatever he says on Twitter, no matter whether it be political, pro wrestling, or whatever, and stands by it and invites people on and doesn't get flustered, and would also apologize if he gets hit with a fact that he's wrong about.
Yeah.
That's a great show if you want an example of being diverse and people showing different
and
opinions. Being open.
Yeah.
And shout out to Russo and his brand there, in fairness, on that. Like, because they do tend to, you know what I mean? They tend to be able to have those conversations.
Yeah.
And, don't always agree.
Absolutely. But he made a comment on we saying Colt Cabana was back. And he said
the lollipop guild.
Colt Cabana told him backstage that he asked about the CM Punk thing and stuff like that, and Colt said, "Well, we never spoke. We never discussed that." And then suddenly I was gone. And the way it was kind of put across, it sounded like where Punk turned around and said, "I had absolutely nothing to do with this situation." You kind of feel that there must have been a little bit of plumage in there from Tony one way or another.
I disagree. I disagree. If you can drop your biggest, because if you can drop your biggest star at the drop of a hat just because of an incident, right? And the incident with the internal investigation, which is basically a crock of shit, it's the elite coming out and going, oh, well, no, we didn't do that, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not an actual investigation. You know what I mean? All Punk's boys got, like, the one man was sitting in a locker room with Ace Steele's wife and a dog, and their door was open, whether it was broken into or opened or whatever. It was still six or seven boys.
It was kicked open, didn't it? And then the dog lost 2 teeth. That's the talk.
Well, look, that's yeah, but it never came. But the problem is, no one's ever asked Punk about this. So Punk is innocent in all of this, because his side hasn't spoken. You know what I mean? This is Uncle Dave once again trying to make his little boyfriends look good. Like, fuck you, Dave Meltzer. Good Lord, would you not just go and fucking perish somewhere and fucking enjoy your money and just go off into the fucking sunset and just piss off. Like, imagine this lad tickling little boys' balls, like going, "You guys, I want to be a part of you. You know, I've even got muscles now to show that I'm part of the fucking clique." Like, fuck off, you stuttering, glittering idiot. Same with Sean from Fightful as well. Oh, I got my black belt in jiu-jitsu. Did you? Grant, go and work for Dana then, or fuck off. You know what I mean? Seriously, lick my wad is all I'd say to that. This has all come from one side. These fucking dirt sheet writers, they're fucking morons. They get all, morons follow morons as well. Like, I'm on Twitter every day and I see it. Like, morons follow morons. We said it on the last show with Kigo. These guys, basement dwellers, literally hugging their Bailey shirts, going, "I know, I like the elite." And that's grand, yeah. But you know what? These are the kind of lads that identify as the tree that's growing in the back of your fucking room. These are the kind of guys that, literally pull up at the yellow bus, hypothetically, and just go, "Hey guys, join my gang." The problem we have here is it's all one-sided fucking reporting. And this is where this all stemmed from. And Punk came out and fucking said, "Fuck you guys, honestly." Do you know what I mean? I'm sick of it. Like, he's got litigation letters and quotes of these letters to show that Colt Cabana is a piece of shit. You know personally Colt Cabana is a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like, I know. Tell the fucking story, man. Don't hide it.
Yeah,
He's a piece of shit.
I wouldn't be taking up his side.
Yeah,
But
no, I
yeah,
know,
but
but
it's interesting as well that he was kind of like the timing of him being brought back and also being made look very good. He was booked very strong.
they're using this one now. It's telling you, it's a political ploy. They're using this one, and the elite, they were all his friends as well because they all like the same things. They like playing Game Boys together while they have their fucking pants down or whatever the fuck they're into. And they were like, "Oh, we like Colt Cabana. Yeah, he has a Pokemon card that I like." And guess what? I got now, not slagging anyone that likes Pokemon. In fairness, there's plenty of friends that like Pokemon, but you get the point I'm making. They're fucking idiots. And now they're trying to turn it all one sided to make it look like this investigation is bad and it's all Punk and it's all Punk. And then you've got this guy who's the biggest mark of the lot, who's got an endless amount of money in his bank account that's just going, "Yeah, yous are my guys. Yeah, I love you." And they're just going to bleed this man dry and bleed this man dry. I mean, you telling me that the book's called
Well,
my
see,
favorite line.
the problem that we're faced with it's literally impossible to bleed this man dry.
Of course it is, because it's
That's what
endless.
the problem is, isn't it?
But
Yeah.
then, but you know what? It just shows you how fucking irrelevant the books are outside of this little indie scene, because apparently they called H and H didn't want nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? They know we're not bringing these lads in just for that kind of 1 million indie fans versus our multi-billion fans around the world. Nah, you're okay. You can keep
There's
that.
more of a plan in there. You're not being brought in for a moment.
No,
More of a
100%.
plan.
So I mean, I just think this witch hunt on Punk is actually hilarious. And guess what? Punk is the one who wins in the end, by the way, because he either gets brought back, gets to finish out his contract, and everyone fucking says, "All right, sorry, let's do it, let's work together," and hopefully he gets some good matches out of it, or else Punk gets paid off, won't sign a non-compete contract, brings them to court. Tony will have to pay out anyway, because he'd be in breach. Hence why I don't believe Punk's side are actually speaking out, because I do believe that they think they're in the right on this. And all this little sleight of hand that's going on with AEW to try and, make it look like that they're the good guys in this instance is going to fall flat on its face, because one way, either Punk gets the 7 million payout, he wins. He worked for a year and got 7 million, took a few bumps and had probably one of the best years in wrestling in a long time, put over a lot of stars, or else he gets paid off and he can go and finish out his
Just
career in WWE.
imagine if this all evolves, that this is the community being worked, and the whole
I
thing,
think,
there that, like, remember years ago they said with the pipe bomb and stuff like that, that they wanted Punk to go off and take the WWE title and go to Ring of Honor and go to New
yeah,
Japan, and they never did it. And 2 weeks later he was back. And the fact that he's injured now and he was going to be on the shelf for a couple of months anyway.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I wonder if he's using this opportunity just
Wouldn't
to tear
surprise
us
me.
all down. And,
if it is, I'll be the first one to come on here and congratulate everyone involved. But I'll also be the first one to come on here and still call Sissy Cowboy out and those silly fucking riders that call themselves riders.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's finish up with the current news. Sami Zayn had a hilarious response to Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette talking very affectionately about Sami Zayn at the moment, how good he is. He's one of the reasons that he tunes in at the moment, that he's excellent.
How good is Sami Zayn, by the way? Can we just actually get an amen on that?
We know how good he is. He's just excellent. From his work with Kevin Owens down through the years all the way through. And brilliant. It was interesting what Cornette said. Cornette said, I wasn't a huge fan of El Generico. But I'm a huge fan of Sami Zayn, and it was interesting. And this is the comment that he made, and just underneath it, Sami Zayn came back and said, "My dog," to Jim Cornette.
Did he say that?
That was his response. Yeah, my dog. So it was pretty cool, But I seen him there last week, and or this week or whatever it was. He's trying to get the guys to crack up with what he's doing in the background, and the Usos and Reigns
working every week.
It must be amazing up at the curtain before they come out. They're probably turning around to Sammy and going, "Sammy, don't do it this week. It's hard enough keeping this together." The Usos were nearly in stitches on it. It was just
I've seen it, yeah.
But it's so funny to see it, and he's so entertaining now, and this whole Uso thing and all is just hilarious. It's just taking off. It's like that new wave of the Yes movement that Daniel Bryan had there.
It's those little things, man.
Massive. So yeah, great, delighted for him as well, because he has been held down a little bit over the years, and he's extremely talented. We seen it at WrestleMania, even with the Jackass guys. He just does everything to make guys look brilliant. And a huge part of the success of Kevin Owens' career as well. So hats off to him. Long may it continue. It's very, very entertaining.
I concur.
That's all I have for you news-wise.
Okay.
So we do have.
I think everyone should take a deep breath after that.
Yeah.
Dynamo rants, which is obviously why you come here. I've still yet to get much bite back in all of this. I'm still waiting on all the indie fans to come and see me over this, waiting fucking to walk down the road and get a block at my head and be like, lads, come on, what's the story? Let's have a conversation. But once again, we'll say it here and there, these are conversations. I know I'm calling out people. I'm not calling people out on their own. I'm calling them out on their bullshit as I see it. You know what I mean? And I'll be honest with you, when I'm calling out the likes of some of the elite and especially these riders, I'm calling them out on what they present to people. And what that shows me as a person is what they seem to be as a person. So yeah, it kind of is an attack on your character. So
that's why I kind of said, if it all ends up being a work and everyone's in on it and everyone's posting it that way and promoting it that way and everything,
I'll be the first to commend you and applaud you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I just don't see the riders being involved in it, but if they are, then well played.
Yeah, absolutely. Shall we get into the history this week in pro wrestling? There's some interesting stuff in
I don't know anything about this, by the way. As you know, each and every week Niall brings this to you, and I don't know nothing about this. So this is the fun part.
Well, it's an interesting conundrum this week now, because there's some decent stuff in there and some interesting stuff in there as well. But we'll start off, as you mentioned earlier, the Great Harley Race, 1979. We're going back to. I was but 7 years old. Harley Race defeated Joint Baba to win back the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in Amagasaki, Japan. He had lost it to Baba a week earlier. Interesting Joint Baba as well, because recently we lost Inoki as well, and those two guys were the godfathers of pro wrestling in Japan for so many years.
Baba, of course, All Japan, and
after the split, they worked very much together for a long time.
Yeah, they did.
1994, on Monday Night Raw, Vince McMahon himself announced that Macho Man Randy Savage had left the WWE after a 20-year stint. He would debut for WCW weeks later. Savage never appeared for WWE again before his death in 2011, and he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2015. So that was this week as well. Interesting. 1975, the longest AWA World Heavyweight Championship reign in history was ended in St. Paul, Minnesota. Vern Gagne's 2,625 days, 3 years and 70 days, was ended at the hands of Nick Bockwinkel. So that was this week as well. Wow. What a reign from Vern Gagne. Unbelievable.
Jesus Christ.
serious
Helps
business.
When you're the booker, though, no?
Serious business back then, though. Serious business. Yeah. You had to win a title back then. You didn't get it by default. 2005, this is one that'll pull on your heartstrings more so than the week that's in it. As we know, this week was the week of Survivor Series in Montreal, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But this is 2005. Eddie Guerrero defeated Mr. Kennedy on SmackDown to earn a spot in the Blue Brands team at the up-and-coming Survivor Series. But as we know, he never made it to Survivor Series because 4 days later he passed away. Very sad. So R.I.P. Eddie Guerrero. We miss him each and every day, and more on his anniversary. Of course, it wouldn't be this week if we didn't mention the Montreal Screwjob 1997 Survivor Series. Took place Molson Centre in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and is famous for perhaps the most famous moment in wrestling history, the Montreal Screwjob. So this is probably a tough week for you when the Montreal Screwjob rolls around. You being a huge Brett fan and stuff like that, and I'm sure you touch base with the lads, the likes of Kev Rocks and stuff like that, the big Shawn Michaels fan and stuff. I'm sure this becomes a conversational point on WhatsApp or whatever during this week. But yeah, big one this week. The Montreal Screwjob's anniversary this week, 1997.
It's crazy that it's still such a hot topic, isn't it? Like, it's mad. Like,
yeah, it is. It's well, you could never see it going away. Sure, you couldn't. I mean, it's one of those moments in time that you remember. Like it's, when it's kind of like sometimes when they run those vignettes. Remember they talk about when Snooker sailed off the top rope and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
But obviously they don't put in the Montreal Screwjob there. Maybe if they did some of the bad decisions and they did a vignette on the Montreal Screwjob, the letting of Randy Macho Man Savage go, all these kind of things.
It'd be a different conversation.
A different kind of vignette, absolutely. 1991, Dick the Bruiser passed away, age 62. His death was caused by internal bleeding after unknowingly bursting a blood vessel while weightlifting. Interesting. 1991. 1997, this week, interesting for you as well. This is when the Cruiserweight Championship became a big deal in wrestling. On an episode of Monday Nitro, Eddie Guerrero beat Rey Mysterio Jr. to win the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. That was the match, I think, amongst others in WCW, that put cruiserweights really on the map as legitimate superstars, and raised the profile of that beautiful cruiserweight belt as well. So hats off to
was actually a beautiful cruiserweight belt too.
Absolutely. I actually bought, when I was away in Wales, I went to that Toys and Masks place, and I actually bought both figures, the WCW releases from that match. And I was delighted to pick them up, absolute original ones and stuff like that. That's all I have in the week in wrestling. I do have some notable birthdays that we can go through, starting off with 1957. King Kong Bundy.
Oh.
Yes. You weren't expecting that, I bet you.
Nice.
1987, of course, the great Okada, who's still blazing a trail in Japan.
Younger than me by 3 years.
82 is Ted DiBiase Jr. 1993, a man who we followed his career since he was a fledgling on these shores, one Pete Dunne. Happy birthday to Pete.
Happy birthday, Pete,
1970, Mr. Chris Jericho, 2 years older than me, still doing the business at 52 this week.
1970, Jesus Christ, he's 14 52. Years older than me.
52 years of age, 2 years older than me, and still at it. Touring with Fozzy, wrestling with AEW, podcasting, doing it all. Must be keeping him young, and looks great as well at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Referee Nick Patrick, 1959. Interesting one.
Oh, wow. Would have had him older.
Yeah, funny enough. Yeah, absolutely. I would have as well, but that's the date that's on it. And 1982 for one LA Knight.
So he's older. Yeah. All right, that's okay.
He's older, yeah. And of course, 1963 for the man who rarely at this stage is aging at all, hasn't looked as good as he does right now ever, I think, the one Billy Gunn. who
Ah,
looks absolutely fantastic. That man is ageless, whatever he's doing. Putting in some serious shifts with Mike O'Hearn and Gold's Gym and stuff like that. If you've watched any of their videos, they're absolutely hilarious.
putting on some putting in some serious shifts with the medics as well. I'd say.
Absolutely. Hey, you do what you got to do, but he looks the business.
He looks amazing. Yeah,
What's that? 58, is it? 58, 59, is
58.
it?
Yeah,
58, yeah. That's an incredible age to look like
crazy man.
that. 1930, Big Daddy, World of Sport.
Max Crabtree. Well, Shirley Crabtree.
Yeah.
Yeah, Max Crabtree. Yeah.
And we rounded out with 1965 one LA Parker. So there you go.
Ah, yeah, another one that we lost.
Yeah. So that's your notable birthdays for this week.
I
Some
like
interesting ones there. Quite the mix. From the youth of Pete Dunne to the, dare we say, Nick Patrick. Who else is there? Big Daddy, 1930, all the way up to 1993. That's
crazy to think, isn't it? 1993, the year the Hammerlock opened. Funny enough.
There you go.
When you think about it,
he was only born.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, it's mad to think. They're always little ones that make you think the birthdays, aren't they? And you're going, wow, they've done that within a period of time here, where I was literally either a sprog or not even a twinkle, as they say.
Yeah.
And then you find out Jericho's literally 2 years older than you.
Yeah.
that must be a weird one for you.
Makes me feel even more of a lazy bastard.
Listen, I think he makes everyone feel. He comes from the Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden school of you know, I mean, there's certain people are just special in that sense, and you know,
I describe it as there's 24 hours in a day, and he uses every one of them.
yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Yeah, but no, it's fantastic, and I think it's been a good show this week. You know, as I said, if we've enlightened you, let us know. If we've offended you, I've offended you, let me know. As always, I'm available on at Ian Kelly or at Dynamo's Dozen, should I say, on
OnlyFans,
on Twitter, at Ian Kelly on OnlyFans. Yeah, I let that one slip. I don't show much other than the belly button, so
shows enough.
You know, yeah. So if you like belly buttons, I'm your man. And no, I think it's good to have these conversations as well. It's good to. I mean, for me, it's imperative to call out bullshit when I see it. I've always been that way. That's why we run these shows. You know, and if someone wants to call out my bullshit and thinks I'm talking bullshit, then absolutely, I'm willing to you know, take the test as well. So do let us know.
But only if they drop a like on the video.
Only if you drop a like on the video. If you don't drop a like on the video, well, then I'm going to get your like when we have a debate. I've yet to get someone to take us up to come on and have an actual debate about this stuff. Because I'm telling you, I'm ready. I'm ready and able. I've got a list. If I'm with my imaginary pen, I've got a list, and you're it. So if you're it, come and hit us up and come on the show and let us know. Niall will host a debate, no problem.
Next week we'll have our build up to Survivor Series. Our friend of the show, Dazzler, will be on. He will be at it, coming from the TD Garden in Boston.
Dazzler cannot wait to go for this. This is one that is, yeah. This is one that's fallen in line with a great holiday that Dazzler had planned. And this is going to be a nice little family. I assume it's going to be a family thing for Dazzler, I'm sure.
No, he's gone away. He's gone away with the lovely Rosanna, his wife.
Oh yeah, of course. But I mean, I'm sure the family are going to be there at the gig as well. Like,
no, he's not bringing the kids. It's just a little break for him and Rosanna. So the kids will be getting minded, and they're heading up to Boston. And I think Rosanna has family there, so they're heading up there to visit family. And then
that's even better.
Happens he'll be at the TD Garden.
That's even better.
So it worked out
beautiful.
Yeah,
once in a lifetime. So absolutely. Shout out to Dazzler from me personally as well. Hope you.
And what a stadium steeped in history, including boxing history. So great to visit and 100%. Say that another one to tick off the bucket list.
100%. And also, a little thing I read up today. Now, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this month in 2017, saw the end of the Silverdome
Could be
when
right.
it got demolished in 2017, which was
Could be right. Yeah, you might be right.
which
Yeah,
was a sad
absolutely.
thing. I saw this on
Yeah.
Twitter the other day, and I saw the picture of it as it was at WrestleMania 3, and then as it was when the roof came off and it was just about to be demolished.
Yeah.
What a sad.
Yeah, a lot of people were using it for skateboarding and stuff like that. Remember that documentary? Didn't it? Was all
Yeah,
graffiti and skateboarding, and there was dwellers in it and
yeah.
squatters and all sorts of things. Shout out to James over in the UK for the love of wrestling. He has seat number 3 from that signed by the great Hulk Hogan. Lovely piece to
Oh
have
wow.
in your
Oh
your
wow.
collection as well. Yeah, super piece. So yeah,
Jesus Christ. It's
am I
more than a
jealous?
super piece. It's part
Am
of
I
the. It's a silver piece.
am I jealous to say the least? Yeah, absolutely
One day,
massive.
James, if ever you need a buyer,
Yeah.
hit Niall up.
Or if you get tired sitting on that seat, just let me know.
You let him know, yeah. Or, well, if you get tired of sitting on it, let me know. If you want a buyer, let Niall know.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But a fantastic piece of wrestling history.
Absolutely.
So
Well, look, I think that's all we have time for this week. Until next week, of course. I am your host, Ian the Dynamo Kelly. Be sure to follow Niall on all of his social medias. Niall, let them know where they can find you if they are football fans, as always.
Yeah, if you're football fans, it's the upper tier across the board: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And we're dropping content there basically on a daily basis with football at the moment. Have some
Yeah.
good shows coming up as well during the World Cup break, if you like. And also, if you want to contact us in terms of wrestling, it's Wrestling Mania Dublin on Instagram. If you're looking for anything, the Christmas period is coming. We're always busy. There's always some cool bits there and stuff like that for the wrestling fan in your life, who's the love of your life, no doubt. We will sort you out for Christmas.
100%. And of course, for us, you can always find us at Dynamo's Dozen on Facebook, at Dynamo's Dozen on Twitter. And if you want to email the show, it's at dynamosdozen@gmail.com. Until next week, I've been your host, Ian Dynamo Kelly, joined as always by my co-host, the shopkeeper, Niall Hogan. Until next week, we are over and out.